Right, let's call them, I think this one kind of official.
You're right. I got 1 minute, Frank. Can you get in one more?
And I've got this three, the you and I, so. I think it's my truck. Yeah, so,
Oh,
I thought you know, I would take care of that before we start your company.
these are now what? 5:30.
We will call the special meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will start by giving you gentlemen the floor.
Alright, well, I can start first, I handed out, to you guys a, water tower inspection proposal. So this is for the water project, it's got Pittsburgh Tank and Tower Group on top of it. So, as you know, part of the water project actually includes, some rehab over at the water tower, specifically addressing some of, some failing coating, that's going on the inside of the tower as well as potentially on the outside.
Did you get down in there?
I did not, no. I have been on it before, but not this one. We were actually looking at the last inspection the town did, and I believe it was 4, almost 5 years old. Was that 21, right? Yeah. So usually they like to see those every 5 years, and since we're actually going to be looking to do a repair, and that previous inspection was 4 years old, we're really recommending that you guys get another updated inspection so that we can really see exactly what's going on now, because a lot can happen in 4 years when it comes to coating systems. So we actually reached out to Pittsburgh Tank and Tower, who did your last one. And they came up with a proposal for doing the inside of the tank of $1525. So that would be actually an eligible project expense. It would come out of the water tower or water project budget under the contingency line. So that wouldn't shouldn't have to come, you know, out of the general fund once the funding is in place. It would get reimbursed to you at that point. So this way we can see exactly what it is to date, and then make a recommendation on fixing that coating system in there. So it really you want to have a good idea, the best idea as you can with this, because you know, whether it requires a complete full recoat or a spot repair can be potentially, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars difference. So we kind of want to have a good idea of what's going on in there, especially if we take the tower down. You want to have best idea you can going forward what needs to be done in there before that happens. So we think it's very valuable to get that, and we're recommending that you guys would proceed with that under the project.
Very good. I suspect there shouldn't be any opposition to that from the board members. No,
Let's do anyway, I mean, really next year, it's gonna be tough to do next year anyway, so.
it's logic.
If we can get it scheduled, like they said, 7 to 8 weeks out.
Yep.
Just gives us the most updated information about the condition of the tank
Sure.
before we put out the bid. The repairs for the tank, so that we can scope it.
I'll make a motion to move on with the tank inspection.
We have a motion, we have a second. Motion made, second, roll call please.
Dave Van Arlen,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
right?
Aye.
Good, Sean?
Alright,
The motion carries.
No, Dean,
you always do Frank Lasso, because if there's ever a typo, he has to make the.
okay, all right, I'll get that.
So we have a first thing tonight.
Either one, but we can do it just as
Sign it
easy.
back, and then we can send it in, right?
Yes, sir. So we.
Alright, and then next on the water project, we just want to follow up with you guys, with you, Frank, if you had any updates on the bond council discussions with the potential ban for the project. So I think we had got some email correspondence with the town's local attorney, but there was still, I think he was waiting on the bond council to, I guess, you know, really proceed either with getting a ban or letting them know, have someone else take the town through that process. So I didn't know if you had any
I have.
additional contact with
I
it or
have
not.
not.
Okay. So that one's gonna be getting pretty important here, just because we're gonna have some bills coming in, or we wanna try to get that ban in place to allow for payment on those. So,
If we recall, the ban's just temporary,
I remember.
just to bridge the gap financially till your financing comes in. But we haven't had much luck with getting your attorney or bond council moving on it.
Well. Probably my job.
okay, cool. And then other than that, other updates on the water projects, we've had. We're in the process of lining up a surveyor as well as a soil boring company, so. Hopefully we'll be getting those underway here shortly, so that'd be the first step in the design process for a lot of that, and then we are actually doing some initial meetings with some of the equipment manufacturers on the treatment side. And looking into some pulling some data with your operators as far as raw water data and whatnot to help facilitate some of those design efforts, so things are moving along. So any questions on the water?
Not from me.
Okay. I guess the next thing we talk about is the Black Lake Sewer Study, so I know, Matt, you were here last month, I wasn't, but, what we wanted to do was, kind of print off a summary of what is kind of included in the report that BNL has been working on, so the summary is this Town of Morristown, bunch of figures and whatnot, so we just wanted to take the town through the kind of what our process was in shaping the project, or of the proposed project. Obviously, it can certainly change, but kind of what we went from the beginning and then how we ended up to where we are. So. Matt, you wanna go do it, or you want me to do it there?
Sure, you can go back and forth and kind of touch on the various points as we go, but just the project background. Probably don't need to tell you a whole lot about Black Lake, you're familiar with it, this is just various bullet points. Identifying, that it is categorized by DEC as a class 303D impaired water body due to excess of phosphorus. Sewer sludge, does have phosphorus. Not that has been necessarily specifically identified as being a major contributor. I think they have some other farmland runoff, as probably the primary contributor, but. Something that's already, a water body that's already impaired for a certain thing, any additional. Loading of that certainly is just gonna exacerbate the problem. Just other bullet points in there, talk about the algal bloom problems of the lake. What the tourism recreation economic impact is. And just that you received a $50,000 grant to study the feasibility of a public sewer system serving Black Lake.
Matt?
Yep.
Is there anything like a kind of just a pragmatic explanation of what it means to be a class 303D impaired water body?
Depending on the severity of any component, I guess a contaminant, for a water body. Whether it's phosphorus or other potential contaminants, DEC lists the severity of that. And keeps monitoring that and updating that as time goes. As far as the 303D specific for this one, I don't have personally a lot of background on that other than its current listing. It's not a water body I specifically studied over time. I don't know if Kelly, you have any more specifics on that?
No, I can tell you that when it's listed, a water body is listed like that. It sometimes will open the door to additional funding opportunities just from point scoring, as you might remember from the water side, it's the same thing with the sewer side, so when you have impaired water bodies like that. Funding typically tries to focus on projects that are resolving some of those impairments, basically, so. That's one of the major things, how it would potentially impact the project, with being impaired and listed with the DEC already. That is, wouldn't say a benefit to the Black Lake, but it's a benefit to the projects looking for funding, basically, having that already there.
I looked more specifically in DEC's database that they have online with information about that impairment.
I can probably take a look at that.
But those were just some background bullet points, just to kind of set the stage for the discussion. Actually, might want to look at it a little differently on board.
Yeah, we're gonna skip the next page and we'll come back to that one.
But really, our evaluation, as I had mentioned last month, kind of boiled down to 3 different alternatives. That we evaluated to provide public sewer. To the Black Lake shoreline area. You wanna lead those one?
Yeah, I can do it. So, option one, obviously with any sewer system, the most important part of that is, well, not one of the most important parts is, you need to have a treatment system of some sort. So, you're gonna have a collection system that's, collecting all the sewage flows, and then you need to have some kind of a plant to treat the water and produce, quality effluent to release back into a stream or a discharge point, and that process is gonna be, controlled and permitted roughly by DEC. So the first option we looked at was, the town already has an existing wastewater treatment plant up here. And it's, as you can see, quite a ways away, about 4.3 miles from the closest shoreline of Black Lake. And we looked at, really doing a low pressure collection system along Black Lake, given the bedrock, and some of the soil conditions. Low pressure system seemed to be the most feasible versus a gravity collection system that. Could be deeper, and have to, excavate a lot of rock, it gets quite expensive, so. The reason why we're doing the low pressure system kind of led us to that, conclusion. And then it would include, like I said, the 4.3 mile, force main and potentially gravity main, depending on the soil conditions, back to the existing plant. So obviously there's a pretty hefty cost when it comes to a 4.5 mile transmission main, especially given bedrock, and also we looked at your existing plant to see what kind of capacity that the treatment plant has now, to accept the additional flows of what this Black Lake collection system would be providing, and it was determined at that point that there's some pretty hefty improvements that would have to be made at this plant in order to handle the flows of this proposed project area, because it is a pretty significant size collection system that we're looking to do to serve Black Lake. So we would be almost doubling the size of the existing plant, so there's another hefty cost with that when it comes to it. So we evaluated this alternative and came up with some treatment technologies, and then an estimated cost for all of this. And this option, we are estimating about $60 million, which is quite a hefty price tag. So, that was option one. So then, knowing that, we kind of started looking around at some different options on the treatment plant side. So we looked at, knowing that we had to essentially double the size of this plant. There's really probably not a whole lot difference in cost of building a new plant versus doubling the size of this one. There's some cost savings you can do, but there's significant work that would have to be done. So we looked at, the most next step would be, can we discharge into Black Lake? Obviously, there's no transmission main. All you gotta do is build a new treatment plant. And so we went down this path, did some investigations, reached out to DEC, and actually request what the speedies permit limits would be. So that is the limits leaving the treatment plant, and that's what we'd have to do a design based around to meet those limits. The response that we actually got was because the lake is a impaired body of water for phosphorus, that they would not even issue a speedies permit and allow discharge to that lake. Unless there was some very strict conditions that had to be met, which had to do with the phosphorus loading, and you had to calculate exactly how much phosphorus loading would be taken out of Black Lake versus, or would be going into the new plant, and then you'd have to show that you were taking out twice that amount that's already going into the lake. So very hard to qualify, very hard to do that, and additionally, that permit would have extremely strict limits on the effluent, and if you would ever looked at doing any type of expansion, it would be very difficult to do that as well. So a lot of challenges with discharging the Black Lake is basically what that all boils down to. So we did look at doing a treatment system that would be able to treat down to very tight limits that would probably end up going there, but just to get the permit, it's not even a definite that we'd even be allowed to do that. So the cost on that was $51.5 million, $51.6 million. So it is cheaper, but it's not really a for sure thing that we could even do that, and very challenging alternative. So we looked at alternative number 3, and this one actually was kind of a combination of option 1 and option 2, but we looked at, so we can't discharge in the Black Lake, what is the nearest water body that we would be able to discharge into? And what we came up with was Chippewa Creek. That is the next nearest water body beside Black Lake that we could look at potentially building a treatment plant with a discharge. So we did the same process, reached out to DEC, requested limits. Since it is a stream with some moving water, we were able to receive data from DEC with the limits, and there were going to be intermittent stream discharge requirements, which they are strict, but they're certainly achievable with the available treatment technology now. So we proceeded to basically have the same low pressure collection system along the lake as what option 1 and option 2 were. They all had that same approach. And then we looked at essentially constructing a 2.7 mile transmission force main up to Briar Hill or somewhere in that area, and have a discharge point into the Chippewa Creek there. So that was alternative number 3, and then constructing a new treatment plant somewhere near Briar Hill. Some of the benefits we actually get into on another page, but I guess we can go on another page. But the cost estimate for that alternative was $56.31 million, and that was what essentially is being the recommended alternative that we had for the project. So that's where that price tag comes from, and kind of the steps that we took in order to go through the different alternatives and what is available for essentially discharge points for this new system. So on the next page, this is where we kind of went through and did the alternative analysis. So you can see the pros and cons for both of them. A lot of the stuff that we just talked about, but with option 3, the pros, it's a shorter transmission main than what option 1 was to go to the existing treatment plant. There's no phosphorus discharge restrictions that option 2 has. It's the second cheapest construction cost, and it also has a potential to serve the hamlet of Briar Hill in the future if that ever came up as the residents of wanting sewer in that in the future. And then really the cons are just the speedies permit will be held the intermediate stream discharge limit, which is a little tighter than what the existing treatment plant here has, but they are achievable through different technologies that we could specify. Let's see. I guess we can go probably wanna go to the different types of treatment that we looked at. So okay, so we'll flip back to the, I think it was the 3rd page, and that was where we have the treatment options to consider. So really for treatment, there are 2 different types of primary treatments that we see nowadays. We have a sequence batch reactor, which is an acronym of SBR, that's actually what your current treatment plant is an SBR, so it has a tank that has. Aeration, and then there is, I guess, call it biological treatment through the aeration tanks, and then the air is turned off, there's a decant mode where it clarifies itself, and then it decants over. And that is essentially most of the treatment. It's all done in one tank, so you save some construction costs, not having to build a whole bunch of different tanks that some of the activated sludge, bigger sludge plants have, where there's different tanks for each process. And then there's also the other technology that is out there is the membrane bioreactor, or the MBR. So that is using a membrane that essentially has very small pores, squeeze the clean water through it, and the rest of it gets sent back to the plant and treated. Not gonna go into too crazy detail, but those are kind of the two main treatment technologies that are available nowadays that a lot of municipalities are of this size plant would be considering. So we did an evaluation, and being that it's an intermittent stream, we actually recommended, and we discussed this with several equipment manufacturers. The recommended plant would be a SBR, which is exactly what you have now, but then we would be doing a filter on the back end just to meet the, it's kind of a polythene filter to meet the limits of that intermittent stream conditions that DEC said would be taken. It's the SBR is a little easier to operate. There's also it's a little cheaper to operate than the MBR, because with membranes you have obviously membranes that you have to clean. It's very similar to an RO system, I'm sure Dave knows about, but there's a whole cleaning process and you have to replace a bunch of membranes over time, so it can be kind of costly. Whereas an SBR, you really have a blower and some aeration diffusers, and then most of it is really just done by through that and some other piece of equipment. So we recommend, for the ease of construction operation, it's a little cheaper and we can meet the limits with an SBR versus the MBR. So we went through that exercise. All right. So now we're going to talk about the actual proposed service area. As you can see, we have a figure here, and really what we looked at was serving pretty much every property that is along Black Lake, that is along I cannot remember what road that is. County Road 6, yes. So all the properties that are along County Road 6 that touch that road is included in the district, and then we also included the transmission main over to Briar Hill and the properties that are touching that road as well. With sewer districts, the districts have to be contiguous, so you can't pick and choose who's in and who's out with sewer districts with New York State Comptroller laws and stipulations. So you can see the whole entire district would be contiguous all the way around that area. We estimated that the EDU or total EDUs would be 646.75, and then we'll call them sewer using EDUs, which would be parcels that have structures and sewer using structures. We would have 622.25 EDUs. So that number basically we separate out the two because the debt service is everyone who benefits from it. Even if you have vacant land, you're going to benefit from it, so you would share in the cost of the debt service. It might not be a full EDU, but you would pay for some of that. And then the sewer using ones are the ones who would share in the cost of operating and maintaining, as well as the treatment charges and the debt service. So that's kind of the distinguish between the two of those. Then you can see what we use for classifications. So with this area, there's single family residence, there's some cabin cottages, and then there's some campgrounds with RV slots, spaces and whatnot. So when we were estimating what these sewer EDUs, equivalent dwelling units, would be, those are kind of what we used as a guide, which is kind of from different projects we pulled. It's kind of the consensus of what the towns and villages typically charge for things like that. Ultimately, it'll be up to the town if they decide if they move forward with this, but that's kind of what we use in the estimate. And then, the next, section there is project funding and user cost analysis, so, you know, we have a pretty large project, total project cost, obviously of 56 million. But we also have, some grant opportunities out there that you guys qualify for. Obviously, they're not guaranteed, you have to go through the application process similar to how we did the water project, but. The enhanced WEA grant program, that you guys qualify because of your MHI is, lower than the statewide average, actually lower than 80%, so you qualify for enhanced WEA. And also, there's a population threshold, but you guys meet all that. So that's an important one because that means you can get 50% grant of the project if awarded up to $25 million on that program for the sewer side. And then the next one that we looked at is the WQIP grant, that's through the New York State DEC, and there's a separate pot of money from the WEA grant and EFC that services these sewer projects as well as some other things that are looped into that pot of money, but that one, the maximum award is $10 million for that program. And you know, that's where the lake impairment and everything goes a long way with scoring quite well on that program. So between the two of those programs, you know, you could be eligible up to $35 million in grant on a $56 million project. And also with your MHI and then listing it on the EFC's IUP list on the sewer side, you would it's not official until that it gets released, but in the last 2 years with your guys' MHI and the amount of money that's been in that pool, you would qualify for 0% financing for the remaining balance of the project. So when you run the numbers, with assuming getting those grant awards and then the 0% interest, and then with the EDUs that we're estimating, that's where we came up with the estimated annual cost of around $1,073, $1,073 per EDU. And that actually includes the debt service, it includes the town O&M to operate and maintain the system, and it includes short-lived asset accounts to account for things that would need to be replaced in the future, you know, up to 10-15 years from now. So there'd be all that is included in that number. And that's what we used on the interest survey that we sent out to the project area, so. And I guess the next page is just a timeline, like I said, this is an absolute best case scenario, but you can see that even where you're at right now, and you continue down the road, it's you know, at a minimum 3 to 4 years before you would really even begin to look at anything going in the ground, and then it would be quite a while before it would be complete, so. But that's just kind of a preliminary schedule that we would lay out, if the town decided to move forward with what we have, so. Am I adding?
I mean, that kind of provides a little more background than kind of the high level summary I gave you last month, just to kind of understand a little more of the details of our evaluation and determining the feasibility for a sewer collection and treatment system in that area. Over $1,000 a year per user, whether that's palatable or not, I mean, all depends on, you know, the people of that area. If that's a cost they're willing to pay for public sewer or not. Ultimately, they decide, just like we went through with those potential water districts. You know, ultimately they have the final say. If it's not something they're interested in, then, you know, we'll hear back through the interest surveys. All 600 and some have been sent out.
How many do you get back?
Around 70 or so have come back, so.
And what's that percentage? Cause what we're hearing is not so good.
No, it's
It's
not.
stirred the pot pretty good over there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, I don't see this going very much further.
Yeah.
We've only got a little over 10% back, but of those, there's over 80% no.
Yeah.
Mm,
That's pretty hard to swallow.
But you don't know until.
Right, and you gotta do it
Well,
to
we're
finish
doing
up the
the-
grant, right?
Doing our due diligence.
Due diligence.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the hardest part about the Black Lake area is just,
Huh?
you know, you have a water body there, but you can't discharge, and the DC won't do that, and that just drives the cost up, because you gotta send it
You would think
somewhere
after
else.
it's treated, right? It would be
Yeah,
good, but-
and when that happens, I mean, you start having to drive the cost up, because you're talking a pretty significant transmission line to get to anywhere else to be able to treat this flow. So, you know, it would be nice if you could discharge the Black Lake, because, you know, there's other things that you could do with maybe phasing it, so that it might not be quite as large of a project right off the bat, but it's tough when you have to go, you know, kind of far away in order to.
It's gonna drive up the cost of
you know.
camps, I mean, what do you get, 2 camps on one? How are you figuring in like the campgrounds, we have, like Mel has 12,
Yeah,
So,
so,
how much is it per year? I see it said 0.75, but I didn't know what that meant.
yeah, so basically for a camper cottage, every cottage would be 0.75, which would be
Oh,
$0.75 $1,000, yeah,
750ish.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's.
And yeah, that's like 8-10 grand for him, just.
Well, it's,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
that and it's not that. It's 0.75 of the debt portion.
Right,
The rest is their actual flow.
right,
Right,
And
yeah, right, I understand that.
so
Still gonna
there's-
cost them that same amount of money.
it's, you know, so the rest of it's, I don't know if we put water meters in.
Right,
To measure flow, even though it's their own private water source.
yeah,
I mean, a lot of places where you have where you're putting public sewer in, you already have public water.
yeah,
So you already have metered water flows, usually build the sewer off the metered water, right? To have a flow portion of the sewer bill. In addition to a fixed, you know, debt payment portion of the sewer bill. In a case where you don't have public water and you just have public sewer, either you come up with a flat fee for that. Or you'd actually have to put water meters on people's private sewers, so that you have a way to gauge. Seasonal cottage that was occupied for 5 weekends versus a single family home with 6 kids year round.
yeah, right.
You know, the flows are gonna be a lot different in the middle, so you would have to figure out which way you would go with that.
Right.
As you know, with water, if someone's only in the cottage for 5 weekends a year, we're not paying much on the floor
Right.
side of them.
Yeah.
But,
right,
but yeah, it could become costly and each individual landowner would have to weigh whether or not that is a benefit to them or a hindrance to them financially,
And we're going off how many we actually return them, because some probably won't return.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, with interest surveys before, you get various response rates and a normal response rate is 25 to 30%. You tend not to hear from the majority, you tend to hear from about a quarter of them.
So when do we find out about the full survey results, next meeting or?
We'll see how fast they keep coming in, you know, at some point they'll start trickling in and then you've received pretty much all you're gonna receive.
That's all part of it.
Without having done the second
So we're
mailing.
still on part of it. yeah.
Yes. Yes, that was established last month.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure, Frank.
The interest survey.
You never know.
The interest survey that we're conducting and then the seeker that, you know, we brought for you to start tonight, that's all part of what the grant covered at that point. At this point, we're not proceeding with anything else beyond what we've already covered by the grant. So. Not until you tell us so or.
So this resolution you want us to pass, is nothing really is just,
Proceeding with what they're.
it's
doing.
just basically an environmental review, it's not obviously authorizing anything to do with the project as far as, monies or allocating anything, it's just looking at the environmental impacts of what this potential project could do. And it's like the next step after the report, but it is not basically saying you're going forward with the project, it's just,
Like we talked about last time, you have to have the seeker done to apply for the grants. And with the time frame you have available, you'd have to pass it now to be prepared. If you decide not to move forward with the grants, that doesn't mean anything, at least you'll have done it. If you decide to move forward with the grants, you'll need to have started that today.
mhm.
So this at least
Yeah, that's.
puts
why-
you in a position where
Yeah, that's why we're having.
if the next 500 interest surveys come in as yes, you're in a position next month.
I got a better chance of winning the lottery.
Just throwing it out there.
I know, I'm getting some pretty heated texts, I think Dean's getting
Yeah.
a pretty heated text and.
It's interesting when they've got the survey and that's
Yeah,
what's going on, but they.
not that I don't think it's
So I'm
worth, and
curious
that's why I told
why
those people, I said, hey, I agree with the person, I'd like to see good, quality septic system and to take care of it, but that you can't give them, they're not gonna.
Yeah.
Well, the longer they wait, the more it costs.
Yep.
So you either eat it now or choke on it later.
That's, you try selling that.
Yeah, I know. I learned my lesson after being here for almost 20 years.
Underwater.
Is that with the water?
Yeah. Oh, my God, and I'm still fixing people, oh, my boss, my name is it?
Oh, yeah.
Do you go near?
I charge more. I'll be the first one to say it, I charge more, cause you try telling them to do it the right way and they don't wanna listen, so
Yeah.
heck with them.
The other thing I did do is I reached out to the, I can't remember what his name was, but the Black Lake Association, I just had a discussion and let them know, that the interest surveys were out. I'm sure they've already heard about it at this point, but, I told them, basically kind of describe the project and what we're doing with it, and that it's obviously initial, very preliminary. The town is looking to see if it's something that people wanna look to do down there, and so, just getting the word out to people about it, is really what I'm just trying to do with the phone call to him, and I think he's got a meeting in May that they're gonna bring it up at their meeting, just to let people know about it and have some discussion on the project, so hopefully they'll spur some more responses on the interest survey, so. You get a really good feel of what people want down there, so. Then you can make a decision at that point.
Very good, so then we need to,
So I'll make the motion, as long as it's not gonna sting us, I'll make the motion.
so the motion, and second, resolution number, I don't know what number it is. That we're on.
I do not see the resolution here. Oh, there's no number on it.
No, that's what I'm saying, it's not on here, but we've done resolutions before, so it'll be numbered.
Okay.
Whatever resolution we're
Okay.
on, how many we're into.
Okay,
So, okay, the motion has been made and seconded regarding this resolution for proposed action for the Black Lake Sewer Project. Roll call.
Dave,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Frank,
Aye, the motion carries. We will move forward with this. All right,
Alright.
Any
Any
questions?
questions, anything for us?
I think our eyes are wide open.
Yeah, well, and as the interest surveys come in, in the interim, we'll, forward some results to you and you can kind of see which way it's trending. Otherwise, the other actions that we'll do in the meantime with the,
Seeker?
with the seeker, but for the Black Lake study is we have to send out the coordinated letters for a type 1 action seeker. So we send a letter out to any potentially involved agencies and ask for their consent for you to be lead agency, because that's what you did tonight. You voted to declare your intent to be the lead agency for the seeker process. We have to send letters out to any other agency that can have a stake in it, DEC and the funding agencies and they have to provide their consent to the lead agency in 30 days. And
So
that's
you-
that.
So your number that you had in there was what, 35 million possibly in grants?
Yeah.
Do you think that's the top? Would that be the absolute, or is that just a best guess, or could there be more?
That's somewhere in between.
Conservative
Conservative and really reaching for the stars. It's somewhere in there that's obtainable, but not guaranteed and also not
Like home run.
setting the bar so high that.
Alright,
not overselling it.
Exactly.
yeah.
It's what we feel would be reasonable and obtainable, not guaranteed by any means.
Mhm.
That's a lot of grant to secure, but it's certainly doable.
Yeah, just with different projects we worked on in the last couple of years, they've done just that, they've they've been able to secure that amount of loan or grant, so.
So you put in for more and then hope for less, or?
So those actually have caps on them. Those two do. There are
You
a few
could-
other programs that we can go after, but those are even more competitive than these two. So.
And you know, the. Programs, new programs start, some programs end, you know, there's ERA funding that comes and goes, there's bill funding that came and now is going and. I mean. Historically, there's always been a need for water and wastewater infrastructure funding. This comes and goes in waves.
It's like Holston.
Project of this magnitude may spend some time in search of funding to finally get it to hit to where you've stacked up enough grants to make it feasible. And that's only if you keep, you know. Keep in pursuit of the project and don't scrap it, but, you know, our obligation for you again, we'll take it through the secret process. So you do a neg deck on that. We'll complete the interest survey for you. And by the May 30th deadline, we will have a complete preliminary engineering report that we submit to DEC and BFC, which is part of your obligation of the grant you got for the study. So your obligation was to complete a report and submit it to them. And we want to do it by this May 30th deadline so that it's on this funding cycle. And after that, you have no further obligation to pursue the project if you don't want. You have no further financial exposure if you don't want. It will sit there on the funding list if you, I wouldn't say indefinitely because they require an annual update to your listing, which is a pretty simple process of logging online and just basically saying nothing's changed. You submit the same thing, that just keeps it on there at little to no cost, or you decide not to even put that much effort in it, it'll fall off the list after a year.
Very good.
Or when those 500 guesses come in.
Yeah.
It takes off.
Game on, yeah.
Very good, well, let's have signatures here and you need a signature on this thing.
Yeah.
You're both-
Do the others have to pay full price?
How's that?
That's cool.
Oh,
Do you give
yeah.
them a discount on property taxes?
No.
Because they're not gonna get a discount on sewer district rates either.
Matt, can I get,
All right.
do you have
Thank
business
you.
cards?
Appreciate it,
Jill,
guys.
Thank you.
I'm sure Jill has them, but I'd like them as well. Sure. Business cards.
Oh, yeah,
So I spelled your names correctly.
So-
I appreciate that.
I do have all
Thank you. Thank
Yep.
you. Okay, appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Let's see, have a good night.
See you later.
Love you guys.
Bye-bye.
So Dean, since, I don't want to let you
Hmm?
make this presentation
Joe?
regarding the Bayside Park roof. Wow. That from Bertrand.
Oh, I mean, so Frank has, I didn't make any copies because he had given it to me and I was down and.
Here, we'll start it over there.
But, so basically the Bayside Park bathhouse needs a new roof. I reached out to a few of them, Nixon, never got back to me, and Frank had talked to him too. The shingles it's just starting to leak a little bit at the top, they're all curled up. Just need to be replaced. So he gave us that estimate back.
And he can proceed, he said, any time.
Is that you had talked to him
Yeah,
on it,
that's
so.
what he said.
No one else got back to me?
No one else did, I reached out to a few other ones, and it wasn't really, we never advertised it, we kind of caught it this winter, it started to leak in the roof a little bit, and we kind of looked at the shingles and I'm like, wow. You're trying by it every day, but you don't pay attention, you look out or you have a leak, you know?
That's full strip, everything, we take away everything,
Yeah, that was the whole
the
deal.
whole deal. And,
It's all, it
How
can't
much
be
is
really
it?
square, should it?
No, it's because the way the roof is, it's not really that much, it's probably more of
Frank,
a,
how much is the estimate of this project?
it was
For-
7,800, 7,900, 7,900.
they'll have it done.
Do you want to see it?
No.
I'm good with it.
I know when he did the gazebo, he never charged us anything for the gazebo, and Teresa said donate all the
Between
shit.
your wife and him, they were doing.
It was a whole donation.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh,
No.
whoops.
But I forget how we got on that.
He had discontinued.
did you?
Yeah. But she was kind
See how much we talk?
I did it 2 years now, 3 years.
No, I'm good with that.
Yeah, he did that.
okay, let's make a motion.
Okay,
I'll, go ahead.
I'll make the motion, we do that's 70 for train construction for 7,900 to do the. Bayside Baptist.
I'll second.
roll call, Dave,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Sean.
Aye.
Frank,
Aye. Motion carries. So I'll let you wanna contact?
Yeah. You wanna sign it?
She's really getting onto this.
Master.
Right, do we have any issue with our requirements that we?
I know where you're going,
bids?
and because we haven't had anybody else that
We've reached out, I can't remember who we all,
So I wonder whether the minutes could record that we've reached out to a number of different people, and this is the only.
That
one
was-
we've
we have that.
received. And then we have experience with this firm and they know the project. You
Yeah.
could make that beautiful.
that's gonna do just like that.
Flop it up.
Maybe do it if it's under certain.
20,000 is not.
20,000 is it, 10,000 is cool.
But you're supposed to get, well, you are supposed to get,
No, we got one, yeah.
that this is all we can get.
Yeah, cause I actually did ask
Now-
Mike to one
now,
of
like,
the town
with
bar.
the oil.
Yeah.
With your wife, she's the only one. That's a bid. You knew that she did that.
Right now, it's talking about once college is out, you can't be the
Oh,
whole time college is out, between painting and,
oh, okay.
yeah, I mean, the springtime you sold, as soon as college gets out in those houses, that's where he's at most, I mean, when you drive through Canton, you see him over there a lot. So
Okay, so now we'll move on to.
So me again with the generator.
Yep.
So I gave you kind of numbered them, that's how it started out with the generator, John Patterson, because I wasn't having any connection, but he had some friends down there, so that's why we did pay the bill, everything, we didn't have an account with them, so that's why it was under John Patterson, he did not charge us anything, we just kind of used his account to get him here.
So we got $6,000 from the first time.
So yeah, we got $6,000 for the first time. So in the meantime of that, they came up twice. Tried to put new circuit boards in, could not get them to calibrate for the generator. The second time up, as you can see, unit shut down, active speed sensor loss, all that. I had already done a speed sensor in it because we waited 3 weeks for them to come. I told them when they came here, it's not the speed sensor. We put a new one in. I had Cash Montroy over here help me set the speed sensor. Because it's not the speed sensor. So that was $2,487. I have not paid that bill. I feel it's not right. The unit still wasn't running when he left that day, and I think it says I will have to return for further troubleshooting. So in the meantime, I got a hold of them. I talked to John, I talked to Davey, I said, listen, they're charging us, I think if you look at travel time. Labeled out, I think it's close to $1,100 every time they come up here. I said, let's load this thing on and take it to them. So that's where our generator is now, it's in Syracuse, it's been in Syracuse since.
2 or 3 weeks.
I went to Florida the 31st of March and they took it down there that Monday that I left, so it's been in Syracuse since March 31st. They have worked on it, they put another control board in it, did not work again. So now they're saying it's the injector pump on the engine, now this engine has 80 hours on it. Of course, we're only a few months out of warranty, and once again, when we had Cash over there, he knew how to bypass things, the motor ran fine. It did go into a high energy and did shut down after a few minutes. So for them to look at it and put the injector pump on it today is $12,217. So that puts us at $21,000 into this unit. And my problem is they won't give us a guarantee when we're done.
It's a limit.
And they won't give us, I talked to the girl today,
That's what I said.
so hopefully you can hear it. I laughed, I was in Canton this afternoon, I'll try and get it so everybody can hear this voicemail she left me. So my problem is it's sitting on our trailer down there. Because
So as your trailer tied
it
up.
has my trailer tied up. So I'll try and.
Hi, Dean, it's Linda from Cummins, trying to reach you before you go home, so I talked to the service manager, they're a little low on technicians today, and he doesn't think there's any way that he could get that generator off the trailer without being checked, so if you pick it up tomorrow, you can pick up the whole thing, and you can either bring it back, or we can throw it into the repair, I know it's.
I mean, this is a shop.
My number is 315-410-7511.
I mean, this is a shop, I mean, I don't know what else to do with them, I mean, it's a repair shop that sells these units and they can't even offload it, it's sitting on our flatbed trailer down there, so you can move it in and out of the shop. They have forklifts there, like, I don't get, like. She's like, and when she said, just come pick it up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, so we're supposed to bring it back and
Bring
then,
it back, and then they'll come up to-
then charge us another $1,300 if we get the parts to. You
Yeah,
know,
no.
then the 12,000, so it'll be, actually, it'll be more than the 12,000 at that cost.
So my question is. Are you going to buy elsewhere?
Well, we never bought this one, this was bought through the project from the county.
Yes, but I'm saying, are you?
Well, I don't know what the board wants to do, I mean, you're,
I'm
got a
saying,
dead horse,
I'm saying,
I don't know if we should,
they've been working on this how long?
well, it started in
January,
January.
when was it out of,
It started in, I think it was November, we had a power outage.
I think he wants to know when it was out of warranty.
out of warranty?
Last August, I think. But I had 80 hours, which it says right on their work order, and that was another argument I've had with them. So on the first work order, 77 hours on it. Now the thing says it has 346, so I said, did you put a new control board on, or was it off of another generator? And you tried to switch it out, well, she couldn't answer that question. Cause why all of a sudden we go from 77 hours to 300 and some hours, and it wouldn't even run over here.
So basically, they're part changing right now.
And that's what I
Trying to figure it out.
You know, I've talked to some other mechanics, I mean, like I said, I paid. I think cash charges $150 for it, put that speed sensor on it, and he's like, I don't think it's that. He goes, I don't think it's the injector pump, he goes, that engine runs,
Can casket,
he can do the injector pump. I mean, he said the injector pump will run you, I mean, I think they had 4,000, he said that's right from Cummins, that's probably an injector pump. He goes to put that much, because it'll take you 2 hours to put it on there. But the problem is, it's like he said, he goes, I can get the engine to run, but then to get the engine and the computer part of the generator to communicate at the right things and right times.
well, obviously, they're not doing that.
So,
Should you?
so I don't know, I have to go to
should you-
Syracuse
should
tomorrow,
you-
right?
Should you be utilizing our lawyer now?
Well, I said that to Dean, I said, I hate to be the guy that wants to sue over stuff all the time, because, you know, that's just.
Well, sometimes they'll
But
listen,
sometimes they might listen, yes.
we get your attention, their attention if it's through your.
And I tried to look a little bit
I
today to
agree.
go
I said
above
that.
and beyond Syracuse, so. You know, they're the dealer, they should be, but
Is there somebody within the project management of the group that we got it through? That should be talking, because like if
Wired
they
has,
said that thing is, we used 1,000 of them over New York State for all these projects. And, you know, we got a bum one, not that they're gonna give you a new one, but
That
you know.
part is for the warranty zone.
yeah. And my thing is, I mean, hey, if. Gonna take $12,000 more to fix it, it was gonna last us, I mean, the other ones we had are 20 years old.
You don't know
It's what
what's
it
gonna
is.
last, right?
But you don't know what's gonna happen in 3 more months, and something else goes, you know,
That's
and
the question, what's the new one for that size?
I don't know,
I look up online, I see something for like 25,000, but
It's like, yeah, this sort of.
and I don't know if that comes with
Putting
a
that
switch,
in
do you have the
we
switch?
have a switch, I mean, it's
Yeah.
just a generator, but I just don't wanna keep, I mean, I don't know, that's why I said I'm just gonna bring it to you guys.
So is it on the trailer like Dave's is down there, is that ours like that?
No, it sits right on a base as a fuel, kinda like what yours does at your firehouse, same thing, so we just picked it up. Set it on the trailer, it's sitting on our tilt that trailer now, cause they said, oh, it'll only be a couple weeks, so we said, alright.
So
But then she probably, we'll just come pick it up.
Well, how long do you wanna wait, that's the question.
can you go to the manufacturer?
They just take it back to the dealer, it's
Yeah, they don't.
you have to talk to the dealer representative, which is them.
I really don't wanna put $10,000-12,000 in it, we don't guarantee when you can buy a new one, I'm thinking.
I know.
I looked online just quick, generator, whatever, it's like 23, 24 grand for a brand new one.
Is there?
Well,
I wasn't sure, I
Is there a
What's
trailer?
that?
How many KW?
That was a 60,
60 KW,
Yeah.
phase.
was just runs, and I think it should really have a. Like Dave's down there, the cat, which is a 60, runs it good, but even Pat, I mean, it's right. It should have probably been like an 80 or something, just to give it that little extra.
Yeah.
But. And I don't know how much price difference it would be,
So-
Addison didn't know when I talked to him
If
about
you
it.
put a water plant right there. Will that need a backup generator as well?
Yeah. We have one in our water plant. Well, I'm assuming.
So if you put a bigger, how big would that one take?
And we better have two.
Okay.
I don't
One
know.
goes down really severe.
I think that's a 60 for the water plant too. I think that's a 60.
I would say get prices on a new one plus, I don't know, I don't know.
Do they take trade-ins?
Thought
I'm asking-
about that too, I don't
asking
know.
for a friend.
Yeah. So I guess that's my question, what do you want me to just, I have to go tomorrow to pick up parts. I was just hoping to bring the trailer back, cause we needed to start moving the skid steer around the road project.
I
don't think we're gonna get anywhere if it's out of warranty, I think we're.
I don't
know.
want.
No, it's, yeah, I get the out of warranty, but this travel time, like Dean and I were talking, how much
Oh,
was
yeah.
it just in travel and there's something.
$934 on number 2.
They should be taken off this bill, because obviously in sensors.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, travel, $636,
Yep, and then look.
934 labor.
Yeah,
Right, which.
and that's before they get here.
Miscellaneous, 916.
Here's what I
Of
suggest.
which we didn't pay $2
I suggest that we
This is fine.
take this. And to our lawyer, but we don't anticipate that
So this
we
is a
should pay
quote.
the following charges.
It's all $1,000.
Yeah, I haven't done anything, sorry about the.
You good with that?
Printer was kind of.
Okay, did you hear that?
No,
I suggest, Dave agrees, do you agree with that too? Yes, that we would reach out to have our attorney,
Yeah, we've got to do it in a timely
I think
fashion.
that, do we have a problem with time, like, do we need to get this resolved?
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
I have one on loan right now,
Okay,
but I mean, I don't know when he's gonna need his own generator. too.
sure.
Howard was out at the plant, I'm sure he's gonna want that back himself, so.
Well, it seems to me that.
Because I did price out, just not to interrupt you, Chris, but I did price one out, so if we were to rent one, and the thing is. We might not use it for a year, that's the thing, but when the power goes out, that plant has to run, but it's $3,200 a month to rent one. So,
Why don't we see if we can push Andy as hard as we can.
as far as getting.
Some of this off.
Tell this is an emergency.
Here's my suggestion. I believe we should proceed with replacing it. But I also take issue with this.
Yes, some with the
And
same
have,
charges.
have that addressed through the town attorney
And maybe,
with those charges.
maybe you can reach out to, since they kind of haven't really done so well by us with service. Is there, will they take that in on trade on the one?
okay, so I'll ask that, so I'm gonna go down there tomorrow, so I'll ask that question tomorrow. Yeah, like, hey, we've had trouble with this one, like. We're gonna wipe the slate, like, what we do here to make it good on a new.
Right.
And you, before we take those charges to a lawyer, you can have a verbal.
Yeah, you'll find out
conversation.
tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll go down tomorrow.
Yeah, he'll
Then
find out
then if
first.
if we had to try to be a little firmer, we will.
So do I do, try and leave it there, or do I just bring it back, in worst case, we have to
I
run it back down?
bring it, when you go down there, let's get your trailer
We
back.
can't unload it anyways.
Well, I mean, it's so simple, Don. It's a tilt bed trailer, they have a forklift, they could just pick it up, slide it off, put it on some blocks.
Ask them
Pick it
that,
in,
ask them that.
well,
I wouldn't leave it
Chain
there.
it to the building and just drive away as
Yeah.
fast as you can.
I don't mean, this place works on everything there, I don't understand how.
When you said that, I'm like, that's like some left hand don't know what happens in right hand building.
Well, let's say they're gonna, I wouldn't leave it there myself, I would bring it back. Just because,
And then you can unload.
well, then if they're gonna give us,
Yes,
5 grand, I don't know. what
well, if they do.
Well,
a
yeah, they
trade-
would just
Is
cover
it
it
diesel
off.
motor?
Yeah,
Then if they do, if we
yeah, it's covered.
do business with them, they can take it back now.
Somebody might buy it too, on auction, who knows, see what they give us.
3-phase, huh?
Yeah.
Don't have to prove in my garage for it, but.
If you eliminate the generator part, the motor will run. But if you connect the two, it throws the speed codes.
I can't imagine we had this problem. I mean, this can't be an orphan.
Well, I mean, and that's where I said finally, the last tech they sent up here, he's like, he didn't even bring the speed sensor, I said, don't worry, I said, we got a new one here, you can put that one in if you want. And he's like, oh, I was just coming to change the oil.
Oh,
I said, well, and he knew enough, like, wait, that's in his mind, he was just coming to service it, like.
I wonder if you could, so. Wonder if the same guy out of Pennsylvania that services ours. Wonder if they would know anything.
So I talked to Kinsley's, which they're the one,
Yeah,
Kinsley will not touch it,
oh, they won't touch it.
they will not touch the generator, they will do the service end on it, but when it comes to the technical part, Ricky will not touch it. Just because you get into situations like that, they're not certified.
Yeah.
So,
No,
There's no other big diesel place in
there was a place in Vermont, but I don't know if they're any better. I just found that today when I was sitting at the doctor's office, so. I was gonna give them a call and see what they're, you know,
Worth a try.
band practice.
the practice for Memorial Day. We got the request in early this year.
that's all I have, so I will bring it back tomorrow, I last for the proposal.
Yeah, can you highlight to Frank what you think was? Like. We should be paying the freight or. Extra trip charge, they charge us, which just kind of highlights where you have a dollar amount or text you a dollar amount.
Yeah. Cause I mean, even like, for just instance, I mean, they charged me for the new injector pump was $252 free, now it's coming reach with dealer. Like you think. I don't understand, I can see if they were overnighting it up here, so there'd be a freight charge. But it's going right to the dealer, they're charging $252.
Seems like you're nickel and dime. nickel and-
Charge it for
That's
us.
what they do, every, one big company, mail it.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay, good enough, I got what I need.
so, this has nothing to do with the meeting, but we're inviting. Morse or Briar Hill Fire Department is invited to join in the Memorial Day service. Because we would very much like you to participate. And with that, I would like to go.
I'm gonna make a copy for mine and then I'll give it, put it in the minutes.
Into executive session, and we're gonna approve.
Okay.
So I'm gonna get you a check for those. Bye.
Can I ask
is the
or
meeting
request
adjourned?
something
No, we're
for
going into
future?
executive session. So
Okay.
It's.
I was a little worried about what this meeting was about, but since I heard what it was, it's above most of the people who I would expect it to be, here's pay rates, so we'll let that one slide. But could it be possible that for anything coming up to the water and or sewer projects that we can get that hit on the Civic Ready app?
There's a lady that.
Only because to me, like I said, I didn't really know this meeting was coming, I looked on the calendar, it wasn't